The triumphant return of Alexander Karnes. This is part 2. The workshop interview continues as we discuss mainly steam-related topics. My daughter has a livery stable, so there are lots of horses around here all the time, and people coming and going riding them. And I've learned that when you go down the road and you see a horse, what I generally do, particularly if I'm in my noisy diesel Land Rover, I pull over and stop and let them get past.
Yeah, right.
Because they're very flighty, they're very easily...
Oh, I know, and there's an interesting thing, as I'm glad you brought that up. You'll notice that quite a lot of the traction engines and road locomotives in Britain, they have disc flywheels instead of spoked ones. And the reason for that is because the whirling spokes going around very quickly, since the flywheel spins fast, even if the engine's going slow, it scares the horses. The disc flywheel, you almost can't see it spin if it's clean. So that's one of the reasons. And the side plates that hide the motion, they're primarily to stop horses from spooking, which is nice.
So that's a good point that possibly not a lot of people know.
Yeah.
I put the side plates on that traction engine I had so that no child would go, oh, look at that, and lose its hand, you know. I was interested to see the card that you got, because sometimes it's necessary to have a piece of unnecessary credibility. I haven't got any. I've got a cycling proficiency test that I got when I was a child that said I was proficient to ride a bike. Oh, and then I got a grade 5 theory of music, and I got 4 O-levels, and I once won a painting competition. I find your knowledge quite amazing. I am 40 years older than you, and I know about half as much as you do. And I'm not complaining. My sort of skill levels are not just in this field. We've just been in the recording studio, so you were sort of quite puzzled by that.
I was puzzled, amazed, and terrified. But he has, for anyone who hasn't seen it, he has the most incredible setup for creating music and other things up there. It's like the mad scientist's laboratory. I don't understand a thing about it, and I can't play any instruments except for these instruments, of course. But it's quite outstanding what you've set up, and I'm proud to see how far you've come since I was last.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I'd like to say it took a lot of doing, but it just fell into place like it was meant to be.
I will say, though, I miss one thing. What? I miss that huge pile of destroyed instruments that used to sit outside your model railway that I drove the titch past. That, like, it was something out of a 1970s Muppet movie. All of this stuff was figured out 150 years, 200 years before anyone ever heard of me. And the stuff that people don't know, the stuff that I have to tell them about these engines that they don't know, is not my information. Not usually. Like, I've created new valve gears and things that don't exist before, and new designs, but all of the fundamentals were figured out a long time ago. And really, I think the death of it, at least in the Western world, well, in America, it began in the 30s, and it stayed a little bit longer in the European countries where they weren't so wasteful, like France and things. But it's all gone away because of, well, like I say before, the myth of the world of tomorrow needs pushing. And so anyone who sticks to the past, even when it makes sense, will be socially stigmatized. Because anyone who's talked to me, a lot of them say, oh, Alex, why don't you just go back to riding a horse and buggy everywhere, you know, like the way they usually do.
I've got quite a nice car. We've been out in it today, and as you know, it's quite a powerful, nice car.
You know what I think of it.
Yeah, I know. But it's technology. But the old Land Rover that you haven't yet seen, which is in the garage, which is a 1971, is really horrible. It's horrible to drive, and you know, I love it. We were looking at a Stuart Sirius steam engine, and I said the thing I found strange about the design of a single-acting twin-cylinder Sirius engine of that type is that any water blowing past the pistons goes into the oil, and then it sinks to the bottom and rusts everything up inside. And then you said something about Westinghouse?
Yeah, so the Sirius engines and all the engines in what I call the closed crankcase family, they're steam engines like this long before internal combustion, and some of the first were the Westinghouse automatic engines, and George Westinghouse is a big hero of mine, and also just not just a brilliant engineer, but an incredible human being. He invented the concept of Saturday. It used to be that you only had Sunday off, but he was the first industrialist in America to say there's going to be a 2-day weekend, and all of his colleagues, in the heavy industry hated him because they said, well, now all our workers are going to want it too. And he said, I don't care. He was also, this is the biggest thing about him, anyone who in his workshop created a new idea or a new invention, he made sure that that person's name went on the patent, not his name or the company's name. He was a truly wonderful man, and I cannot speak highly enough of him.
That's very unusual. I can think of other instances that we won't go into with Nikola Tesla and someone else.
Yeah.
We won't really go into that, I don't think. My philosophy in life is always to be right with people and straight with people and honest.
So this is a two-cylinder, either a simple or a compound. It's a single-acting engine. If you look at it in a cutaway, someone inexperienced will immediately think, oh, that's an internal combustion engine because it looks like one, but no, it isn't. The cranks are at 180, so she runs balanced. They had, we're talking 1890s, and these engines were running 600, 1,000 RPM. Really stupendous little things. Mostly made to drive generators. Some not usually reversible. Some were, but the governor was usually in the flywheel actually, because these were not the old-fashioned throttle-governed engines where this governor here would just shut the throttle valve and choke the engine. This one, if you see an engine with a governor in the flywheel, it's connected to the eccentric, and it varies the phase angle and the travel of the eccentric, so there's a variable valve timing steam engine for you. Super high RPM oil bath crankcase steam engines that run smooth and quiet, very nearly maintenance free. And you were saying something about the water in the oil. So I have such an engine. It's from the American Blower Company, ABC, Sirocco, because these engines were specifically made to drive the fans, forced draft fans for huge boilers like the size of office buildings, where you needed a lot of steam, and also the stokers that fed the coal, and sometimes the ventilation wheels that drove the air into the building HVAC system. And this is a closed crankcase engine with a piston valve. It's made to run at 250 psi, 400 RPM, things from 1904. And it's got a gear rotor oil pump in the base, just like a car engine. But it has a very interesting feature. It's got this pipe T arrangement in there. And any water that gets out the packing gland of the cylinder and lands in the oil, right, the oil floats on top of water, so the water will eventually find its way to the bottom. And when that happens and it deemulsifies, this piece of pipe uses the difference in weight of the water and oil. When you open the valve, the water will be drawn up the pipe and out the drain valve. And then when you see oil come out, you shut it, and now it's gone. There's no problem anymore.
See what's interesting? I went to see a friend of mine by the name of John Mills, and he has a YouTube channel called Double Boost, and was rebuilding a Stewart enclosed crankcase engine, and I've never seen anything like it. I really said to him, are you serious? Because it was incredibly rusty. It turned rust into an art form. But with a lot of effort, he brought it back, and I was well impressed. John is very clever and does some really nice things, and he's very diverse, more diverse than me. But the problem with my diversity, people say, I didn't subscribe to this channel to watch you messing about with Land Rovers and studios and things like that. So I tend to stick to, little models like me, just pan round here, like the things you see here.
Well, no, it seems to me like you don't want to get typecast. It seems to me that your channel should have whatever you want on it in terms of differences, and your viewers can pick what videos they watch. The Steam guys can watch this stuff. The Land Rover guys can watch that stuff. I mean, they have choice, of course. They hit the button, so maybe if you created categories.
This is an unusual video because it's a camera pointing at you.
You're right.
And it's your face looking very unlike Tom Cruise and still like Nosferatu.
Well, again, cataracts are more common than ever, I guess.
Yeah. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it interesting. Please take the time to visit my Mainstream Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.